This is William Tincup, and I'd like to direct you to a wonderful limited series podcast that Ryan and I recorded live at the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit. We sat down with 20 recruiting and TA leaders from around the world to hear what today's best recruiters are doing to stay sharp, stay relevant, and stay ahead. It's called The Talent Shift. You'll love it. You'll find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, like, review, share. Do you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Meg and Amy Show. Today, we're exploring a more personal topic, health. Over the last year and a half or so, Meg and I, taking advantage of our financial freedom, which means time and space and some money, we've made health our full-time jobs, and we've learned a ton. There's a lot of information out there and oh so much money that you can spend on it. But we wanted to share our personal learnings with you because you may not have the same time and space to figure it out. All right, so Meg, hello.
Hello. I think you just implied that we have it figured out. I want to be really clear that we've learned a lot. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm standing by it.
Okay. Amy has figured it out and Meg has just explored more and more questions. Yeah. But yes,
says the girl who can't walk downstairs right now. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Especially where you live. There's no stairs to get anywhere in your house. So.
All right. So Meg, how did this all come about?
All right. So a couple things. Obviously, I don't think it's ever been something we haven't thought of. And certainly when we quit working, I think both of us said, hey, it would be a really good idea to use some of our extra time to think about feeling better. So we were already a little bit on this journey, but then we had a girls' weekend and our amazing friends, Jen and Jill, got together with us in the fantastic Pebble Beach. And unsurprisingly, Jill had done this amazing and, exhausting battery of tests and talked to doctors and had really come to us with a lot of information. And Amy and I got out our notepads and started writing down notes furiously. So at least that's my memory of how this all started. I
believe these were the notepads.
That's right. That's right.
For those of you listening, it says
Womankind World Domination Action Planner, which was a gift from Amy to us for the girls' weekend. And our topic for the entire weekend was really about, okay, what did you learn, Jill? And how can we use your insights to help us get our act together? So that's the beginning. Amy, what did I miss from our story?
Well, I think the biggest aha from that was this test that you could do in most cities, I would think, which is an in-body scan. I'd never heard of it before that, but it allows you, instead of just getting on a scale, get on a scale that also does body composition. So it lets you, gives you insight into what your muscle mass is compared to your body fat mass and gives you some clues as to what to do about it.
How did our first in-body scans go, Amy? Were we awesome or amazing?
Yeah, so needless to say, because we're high achievers, we ran out and did our in-body scans right away and became immediately depressed. In
fact, the text string included a lot of, oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, for people that, we considered ourselves healthy and active, it was a bit of a wake-up call.
I will say, as the person that, as usual, was bringing up the bottom of of all of the definitions of good, I was on the lowest end. I didn't really find it wildly surprising, but maybe a little disappointing because I felt like, okay, I had been taking pretty seriously upping my activity level and eating better and all of those sorts of things for the 6 months prior. So I was like, well, shit, I am have a lot further to go than I thought, while probably not being really surprised by it was maybe just mildly depressed by it. So that was the beginning.
Yeah, it was kind of a mirror. And, I certainly knew that things had gone pretty south for me over the 7 years that I was at SAP. Not SAP's fault, but all of that business travel, just all that
COVID,
intensity, all
yeah,
of it.
the big job, a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So many.
And so that's why we're doing the show, right? Is we know that people in our similar positions who have big jobs, have all those stresses, have all those constraints in their time are also struggling with this, I would assume. And what can they do? So we get the results and we set some goals. What were your goals, Meg? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, I remember some of them, although of course I think I evolved them over time. It's useful to qualify for everyone. I am notorious for setting very small goals because I know myself and I know I have to kind of ease into things. When you compare and contrast this to maybe Jill's goals and her approach, it was very clear why I was not necessarily winning any awards on everybody's shared thing. So some of my goals, I was already doing, some regular activities, a lot of walk and talks, a lot of sort of what you would think of as zone 2 cardio-ish sort of things. But for a long time, I have been wanting to progress past a big challenge of mine, which was vertigo. And I also wanted to add a little bit more intentionality. So I wanted to think about things that were going to build muscle mass, which of course I knew that would be introducing weight training. I also wanted to think about bone density. So I do a lot of cardio dance. I wanted to make sure in my dancing that I was actually jumping as opposed to just kind of going through the motions. And I wanted to, and I still want to, I should share, learn to do a push-up. So those are all things that were kind of top of mind in that moment. I probably had a few others.
All right. And then in terms of my fitness goals, based on this time period, well, I had been a runner for my whole life, really, since I was a girl. And I was still running, or I guess jogging, really. So I was jogging and for very short distances and very, very slow. And so I really wanted to increase my pace, increase my distance. And so I had signed up for a 12K at the Big Sur Marathon a year out. And so that was one of my big goals, was to actually finish that race and not hurt myself. The second thing was to really get to a point where I could be running at sub 10-minute miles, because I consider that running rather than jogging, and to be able to do that for 3 miles at a time. Not the 12K, but for a 3-mile run, to be able to do that. I wanted to, this was like a big, hairy, audacious goal. I wanted to be able to stand up without groaning.
That's a huge goal. Yeah. In our household, we call those old lady or old man noises.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so really cool. So thanks for all the Gen Z and millennials that are listening to this. It will happen to you too.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Careful where you throw those stones, everyone in the glass houses.
So that was a big goal. I golf with my family and I enjoy it, but I really can't hit the ball very far and it gets really frustrating. So I wanted to be able to increase my power so that I could get to a green in regulation, meaning a par 4, I could get to the green in 2. And that meant being able to basically hit the ball, 160 yards for my drive. And I wanted to, based on all this knowledge from the InBody, I wanted to reduce my PBF, which is percent body fat, and increase skeletal muscle mass. So I wanted to see that change in my InBody scan. I didn't really know what the right goal was because it was just a general baseline, but just directionally. And of course, I wanted to have more energy.
Yeah, I think one other thing that, so we should just clarify like when this all started. So our retreat was in May, I think, or
Yeah, May of 2023. No, 2024.
2024.
2024.
Yeah.
Yep.
Follow us for all the deep brain awareness things. Yes.
What year is it? It's 2012, right? This year?
Totally. I'm 29. It is 2012. Or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the other kind of thing that I started doing was looking back on what I had done up until that point, and started tracking a lot more data. So I already was kind of obsessive about tracking the ongoing stuff. So anything that was on my Apple Watch, I went back and looked at the historical data and then asked myself, what kind of goals do I want to set against that? And a couple things came to mind. I had been for years pondering on one of many blogs Patty Azzarello had done around fitness and health. And she made the case that working out every day was actually easier than trying to work out 3 days a week or whatever. And I had resisted that like the plague, because I just thought that sounded far, far too advanced maneuvers for me. But I decided to say, okay, given that I would like to give myself more grace, I wanted to set goals of roughly 80% of the days, available days that I was working out. And that I wanted to make sure that my daily average was around 50 minutes. So that even to account for days that I took as doing nothing and laying on the couch or maybe traveling or whatever, I would average that with days where I did more, so that I was having a consistent habit. Because for me, as much as anything, I wanted to be able to tell myself a different story about fitness, that it was really something that took like first priority in my life versus, and also I should do this kind of mindset. So I was really working on my mindset over that time frame as well.
Yeah. And for me, I think the big switch was that I always really loved to exercise, in particular hike and run, but it actually isn't very good, as we learned, to just run. And so to bring more variability into my fitness life was really important. Okay. So of course we had this like little seminar with, led by Jill Popelka. But then Meg took off and did all sorts of additional research and filled all of our heads with lots of possibilities. So what did you learn during this time, Meg?
Yeah, so a couple things. I learned that you can hack your Instagram algorithm by just showing interest in a particular topic. And so I started to play with that a little bit, somewhat just to mess with it, but also some to help me with my motivation. So I would, follow fitness people and watch videos on dancing and all these sorts of different types of things to kind of help get into my mind space and energy space, the topics of fitness and health, specifically for women of middle age. And I started to recognize a real overlap with some of the behaviors that happen in perimenopause and menopause. So I started tuning to learn more about that. I also did some reading, of course, started talking to people more and more in that window. One of the books I read was Outlive by Peter Attia. I resisted that at first because I thought, this is going to be very, Iron Man kind of thinking, and it was going to be overwhelming. And it probably was a little bit at the beginning. But again, I really wanted to sort of open up my own definition for myself of where is that space between something that's sustainable for me and makes sense for me and something that is aspirational and pushes me out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I have never, nor am I even today, a runner. I've never really been into anything that looks like milestone oriented or Instagram worthy of the types of achievements. I've been much more of a slow and steady. So if you were to think about the tortoise and the hare, like Jill on the tortoise side, Meg on the hare side, like, okay.
Opposite, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's okay. It's 2012. It was different in 2012.
So different in 2012. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. See, this is the problem with a very busy morning.
But don't forget that a month prior to this girls' weekend, you did nail the parkour in Vancouver.
That is true. It was really, really something. Actually, the Meg and Amy show at parkour was really indescribable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we were so fast that you really couldn't get video of it. So unfortunately, it's undocumented.
Yes, you just have to take our word for it, which we've already proven is super reliable. Yeah.
So folks may have heard of Huberman Lab and have heard the concept of Huberman husbands that drive their wives crazy. Well, I became a Huberman wife for a while. And I think that all kicked off with an interview he did with Dr. Stacy Sims at Stanford. And it was, the entire episode was about women's health and women's exercise and menopause and, and all the different life phases for women. And it just blew me away. And I think all of us actually, and it was so extremely helpful to better understand. Again, just running isn't going to work. You really need to focus on bone density. And the only way that you can improve your bone density is to lift things and move your body in different ways and jump. I'm not doing as well with the jumping as Meg, but jumping, stuff like that, getting up and down off the floor is like the base. Sounds really basic, but it's super important for long time longevity.
Yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit about the investments and the strength training. So one of the things that I had been wanting to do, and in the fall when my youngest went off to college, I took back some space in our house to put in a tonal and to have to remove any excuses from the weight training part of my story. And so I started to really be able to invest. Now, I've had a trainer for many different parts of my life, but my trainer right now is kind of far away, has a really busy schedule, all of that. And I was like, this is not working out to be as sustainable as I would like it to be. And I would rather use my commute time for classes that are group classes and have my things I do on my own be able to include the weight training. And so that had informed my decision to invest in a tonal, which I've become, in your way of being a Huberman spouse, I've become sort of a tonal annoying enthusiast as well.
Yeah, you're selling the tonals now. You're in the pyramid scheme.
Totally. I really should be getting some kind of commission for the love I have.
All right. Well, let's talk about what other activities you tried and that worked and didn't work.
So again, I had already been doing dance on the regular and trying to do some weight training on my own or with videos or whatever. I added the tonal, of course. I continued the things like doing more walks and talks. I got convinced, although I don't do it as much, to buy the weighted vest. Anyone that's looked into the weighted vest will know that's one of the many other things that they might want to sell you. I also got the opportunity to find a Pilates class that I love and, included some Pilates as I go. So that has been really helpful. And in the last couple of weeks, I've tried something else a little bit scary, but maybe I'll save that one because that's just an early ad right now.
An early trial.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, so as for myself, I during this period, this was when I went from, working 200% of the time in a corporate job to suddenly having all of my time filled up with health stuff. And now it's a little more balanced, but during this time, and because I like to run and I wanted to improve my running, I started running a lot more and a lot faster, and immediately hurt my knee and was really frustrated. And so then I kind of wound up in this cycle of overdoing it and then paying for stuff to help me recuperate and compensate for the overdoing it. So on the one hand, I was running periodically when it didn't hurt. I started Pilates. I got a personal trainer at a local family gym, Next Level Fitness in Oakland. It's really, really sweet. And my Pilates trainer / physical therapist, Valerie, whose stuff is called Lou Movement. Anyway, so I'm doing all of those things. And then on the other side, I started going to the chiropractor. Actually had Valerie do like more PT stuff. I got a massage chair, a hot tub. So, I had this like whole like ins and outs, and, I was trying to like balance all of these different activities, and based on my early in-body scans, it didn't really seem to be doing a hill of beans other than cost a lot to my pocketbook and caused me a bunch of pain. So,
and the other thing for me, so I was cooking with gas. I was making progress, getting scans every month. Everything was going really well all the way through Thanksgiving, made it through Christmas, things looking good. And then the family went for the week of a ski vacation. And
active.
Oh my good word. I thought, I'm skiing, whatever. Maybe I'm not being that disciplined in my eating, but I'm getting more hours in of exercise. So I'm totally achieving my number of minutes a day and all of that. And I got back, and skiing at altitude and not really focusing on protein and strength just blew out all my numbers. I was back to square zero in January, which was super depressing and irritating and all of those other words that you might want to use. So I was like, all right, here we go again. Yeah.
Yeah. As a long time exerciser, I do know that exercise has never actually helped me, lose weight or tone down or whatever. In fact, it just makes me hungrier and more prone to eat a lot.
Right.
So, so we'll set that aside. Anyway. All right. So those are our activities. And of course, we could not talk about our health journey without talking about supplements.
Especially in 2025, which it actually really is 2025. And you can't be at all curious about health and longevity and perimenopause and menopause and not have something reach your consciousness about supplements. So yes, It definitely hit us like a ton of bricks.
Okay, so the first must, and this is one that we started right away and we continue to take religiously, is creatine, right? So that came from Stacy Sims for sure, who we mentioned before. It's also when I got my personal trainer, so totally separately. The first thing he said was, you need to take creatine and you need to take amino acids for your recovery. And for me personally, I know that taking creatine and amino acids did substantially move that needle in my goal to not groan when I stand up. It was,
that's interesting.
Yeah. It was a big switch.
Yeah, I don't know if I paid attention to that part, but yes, absolutely, the creatine for sure. And the reading I've done is it helps with mental acuity. Although I should also clarify, the other big thing I did around the same time as starting all of these scans was start on hormone replacement, so estrogen and progesterone, which I had been wanting to do for a bit, but kind of hadn't really gotten around to getting it done. And so that also, I think, helped a lot with the brain fog, although all evidence to the contrary on this particular call. So, you take what you can get.
That's so true. Yeah, I can't speak to the brain fog part, but I started taking HRT a little bit earlier, so like at the beginning of January 2024, and that it was night and day for me because I was having these like every 30-second hot cold flashes at night, which was obviously unsustainable, and it took that away. So thank goodness for that.
Especially with you. So I don't know if anybody realizes, but there is one place that Meg is an overachiever, and that is on the sleep department. And Amy has always had some challenges in the sleep area. So
we'll have to show one of your charts and make everyone jealous.
Yeah, that is the one. Like I am a high achiever. If there was an Iron Woman for sleep, I think I would be a contender. I might not be Olympic category, but I'm gonna be a qualifier.
Yeah, we need to figure out what the other two sports are in the triathlon for that.
Yes.
So
we would welcome all viewer help on that one.
Yeah,
what else should be in the Meg and Amy specialized
well, let's
achievement
just call it the
category?
Meg one, because I really can't compete in a sleep.
You'd have your own thing.
Oh, okay. So yeah, what's the triathlon for me versus the triathlon for you?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have Claude help with that.
There you go.
So what else? What are our other musts, Meg?
Yeah. So for me, I think there's a few things that were important. So well before this journey, I had started on a better multivitamin regimen, specifically because I had a vitamin D deficiency, and unsurprising, like 46% or 43% of all Americans or adults have that, and it's higher if you're a person of color. So something to think about. I
take the D3 specifically. Also, I was going to show D3. Yeah. This was a D3 plus K2 that I take.
Oh, what's
so
K2?
It's not
I thought that was some sort of mountain or something.
I know. I don't remember. It is a mountain, but I don't know. I can't remember, but it sounded cool at the time when I bought it.
It does. All right. So so I will go with both a probiotic and a regular vitamin.
I don't see a label on the probiotic.
I know, it's hard to read. They're both, because it's kind of clear. They're both from Ritual, which I like Ritual because it is a woman-owned business, but also because it has traceability. So yeah,
in fact, I don't have Ritual in this one. I had taken it for a while, but I just stopped. And the reason, like I start and stop things because I feel like I have a certain I have a certain amount of money that I can spend on. I'm not that I track it super detailed, but I have a certain amount of money I can spend on supplements, and I need my ins and outs. Every now and then I remember to take this probiotic, but I don't usually remember. And then this is actually, even though this says Ritual on it, this has something called Super U that I got from, what's the name? Moon something or other?
Moon juice, yeah.
Which is neat, but then I didn't really feel like I needed that in addition to all the other things.
Yeah, so I stopped taking that as well. So that the kind of base thing in the Super U is ashwagandha. Strongly recommend it for those people with big jobs and a lot of stress. And if you're trying to manage your cortisol, fantastic. And I think that's actually what
that is such a good point. So yeah, you're right. I stopped taking the Super U after I was not so stressed.
Exactly. Same here. I just decided I'm pretty, don't have a lot of stressors in the way that I used to. And so I could let that go for a while.
Although, we find ways to be stressed anyway. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
You kind of fill my head with
what the world's going to happen, what's going to happen to our jobs.
The future of everything and needing to figure it all out. But yeah, I realized that, I had forgotten to show the creatine as well. So this is the creatine I'm using. And I specifically got this one that has CreaPure because I read somewhere that CreaPure was better. And I cannot remember the source of that or why exactly, but that is what I use. And so when you do the creatine, there's a load up period. So the first like 5 days, you take four times daily, and then ongoing you take it just once a day. Just a scoop.
I would add one thing. So I use the Mind Body Green one, and it doesn't require a loading period, although I've been doing it for so long that doesn't matter. But I found recently a new app that will help rate the quality of your supplements. And I'm just now starting to look through that. So even more than paying attention to us, it is important to, number one, make sure that you don't have supplements that contradict each other or cause harm together. And then number two, that you think about traceability and quality of the supplements themselves, because there's like negative regulation in the industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can be buying and taking a supplement that either doesn't do what it says, or in some cases does something much different and much worse. There's a recent story of a woman ODing on turmeric and ending up like almost destroying her liver and almost dying. So like, this is something that in the search and the experimentation, you should be thoughtful about what is going on in your body overall and how and what do you want to add. We're trying to focus on things that we've seen good science about, but we're far from experts. And more importantly, how and where you get them from could change dramatically what's actually happening.
Oh, that's such a good point. And the other thing that I learned is simultaneous to that is oxalates. Have you ever heard of oxalates?
I have not until you mentioned that just now. So yeah.
Oxalates are like all the things that you believe are healthy, like chia seeds and blueberries and nuts and like all the good things, spinach, like all the good, maybe kale, I don't know, all the good things. But some people have a really bad reaction to oxalates, and you don't really realize it until really late. So for example, Liam Hemsworth was in the news a few years ago because he had like these kidney stones, and he had a medical emergency, and it turned out that he had been over-oxalating. My really good friend Regina, she was the one who discovered this through her functional health doctor, and it was really sad that, and beans, so like beans, like good beans. So she had to cut all these good things from her diet, and now she feels so much better. So of course, when I was learning this, I was like, well, of course this must be affecting me too. So of course I came home and I immediately threw out my chia seeds and then I regretted it, because then I'm like, I think I'm actually okay. And so I bought some more chia seeds. But all right, what else? What are the other supplements that
I don't know if it like falls into a supplement, but I started back in the research area thinking about glucose. I did for a period of time the 2-week glucose monitor just to get a sense of what happens with glucose. I started following the Glucose Goddess, and those of you that know, she has some 4 really simple glucose hacks, one of which is quite simple, which is a tablespoon of vinegar in water before you eat a meal basically helps your body not spike up your glucose. So, there are ways to do things that are almost free. I mean, vinegar is pretty cheap. And I think it is depending on what it is you're trying to accomplish, these are additional things that are quite helpful. So I still
remember her other 3 hacks.
Let's see. It was eat your veggies first in your meal. I don't remember.
Move around after you eat.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember that one.
What was the fourth
and something about if you're going to have dessert, like eat something else with it or something like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, combine your carbs with protein.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have a piece of toast, make sure you put some peanut butter on it or something like that. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of protein.
Oh yes, the protein story.
What is our number one job, Meg?
Our number one job is eat all the protein. It's crazy. It's like a completely full-time job for which our performance evaluations are pretty lackluster in some ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's like an equation and everything that tells us that we're supposed to eat a lot of protein.
It's so much, especially if you're not a small person.
But in fact, the equation isn't even enough because that doesn't take into consideration women in perimenopause, menopause, etc., where you have to exponentially grow it. So what are the hacks that you found to take protein?
I started with the okay, I'm going to do what I do. I tracked everything. I tracked all my meals, I ratcheted up the protein ongoing, et cetera, et cetera. And of course I gained a fair bit of weight while doing all the weight training and stuff. And I gained weight, and back to the in-body scans, it wasn't all like, oh, I just gained muscle, don't worry about it. It was like, oh, this isn't really working for me. So one of the things that I had to look into was how to get protein without the subsequent overload of calories, which proved to require a little bit more. So God bless Jen Morrow, who found us the 0-calorie protein option. So this one I am so grateful. I do have the pills, and Amy's going to show the powder, the perfect amino. This one has been super helpful because it is a 0-calorie add of protein, which helps. I also have become a real fan. So I'm a dairy person. I like cheese. I like butter. I like milk. Those of you that are sort of anti-dairy, just plug your ears for a second because it's not going to be helpful to you. But big fan of the Fairlife. So this one is their protein drink, which I think tastes like a vanilla milkshake. But they also have like regular milk, and they have a chocolate milk that my husband and kids love. And every once in a while when I really want a treat, I will add a little bit of chocolate milk. It's super rich, so a little bit of chocolate milk with regular milk. But my bigger hack is I was a cream and sugar coffee drinker, so I add the this instead for my coffee creamer. It's not as good, but sufficient, gets the job done. I also am a fan of there's something called boba tea protein that I think is pretty good for a protein drink. But my favorite protein drink is this flavor they don't make anymore, which is going to really bum me out. But the Happy Viking, that is Venus Williams' business. Yes.
They do make the strawberry one. So that they stopped making, that was the green colada that you were showing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a few flavors, and that one I will do before like a cardio intensive kind of thing where I need more energy, and I find that satisfies both. Also, David bars, those are pretty good. Thinking about getting snacks in addition to nuts, there's like edamame snack foods that you can have. So I just tend to try to think about adding protein to every meal with what I regularly eat. So just about everything I eat now has like salmon, chicken, or cottage cheese somewhere in it, either visibly or invisibly in the process, and eggs, and then, all the other things. So very, very focused on where can I throw protein in there with something I'm already doing that's not going to add a bunch more calories.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit more about the perfect amino. Again, this was from Jen Morrow's recommendation, and it isn't protein per se. It is the perfect equation of amino acids. So I'm not an expert, but you really need the right ratios of those aminos, and this gives you the right ratios. And so basically, a scoop of this is the equivalent of 29 grams of nuts and the equivalent of 15 grams of chicken or meat. And it has 0 caloric footprint, and so that's amazing. Now it is a bit difficult to mix, and it's kind of a weird flavor. So what I do is I put it in my clean bottle and with water, along with my creatine, and then also a package of this electrolyte mix, which is a non-caloric lemon flavor that is not so sweet, that kind of masks a bit of the sweetness of that lemon flavor. And then I shake it up and I drink it, and sometimes I do 2 a day. And so that's super helpful. The other thing that I do, the first thing I do in the morning is I have my green tea, which even in my most stressful, travel-ridden times, I really never got sick, and I believe it's because of the green tea. And I put 2 scoops of collagen into my green tea, and each scoop, that is, I believe, 20 grams of protein that I get through the collagen, and then it helps me not lose my hair, which is nice. Always helpful. And so those are kind of my extra things in addition to a good general diet.
The other thing I've been trying to work on a little bit less successfully and a little bit more trying it out is increasing fiber. It's super important, obviously, both for just general perimenopause, but before starting on HRT, my cholesterol was starting to go up, which is a common side effect of estrogen going down. Since then, it's come down some, but still could use a little help. And so instead of going straight to a statin or something, I've been mindful of, hey, what if I increased my fiber? So I'm doing that both with, dietary fiber and a little bit of supplement help there. But that's just another thing, just getting a good baseline of understanding what it is that you're putting in your body and what it is that you should be based on where you are in your journey and what is important to you, what your goals are, I think is kind of the way to think about it. And to recognize that over time, those needs are going to shift, especially as part of aging. So I guess those are kind of the core things that we've learned in that arc of time. And I would say other thing, I am feeling a lot better. I don't know which of the many inputs have happened. I don't think I was ever feeling terrible, but I really think my mindset has shifted where I feel excited to exercise. I never used to feel like that. And I feel like that's the non-negotiable part of my day, which has been a really big journey for me. And I would have been surprised to know that would be where I am right now as a result of that. So Amy, here we are after all of this time. How is it going for you? What are you noticing? And did you set any new goals? Did you feel like you hit your goals? What is the story for you right now?
Yeah, and so I would absolutely agree, Meg, with the statement that I'm having more joy. So every bit of exercise I got to do, every bit of supplemental learning I got to do and share with you has been really fun. But to be quite honest, I was really frustrated with the progress that I was seeing in terms of my actual body and my health longevity, other than the not groaning when I stood up, which again, I do not want to, diminish the importance of that. That was really important. So in December, I embarked on the GLP-1 journey.
So excited to hear about this one.
Yeah. So I discovered that in addition to the very expensive brand name semaglutides that really are kind of kept under wraps unless you have diabetes or whatever, that there is the ability through the internet to go with an off-brand compound. And I decided to give it a try.
When you went in to start that, were you convicted or nervous? What was your mental state when you said, "Okay, I'm going to give this a try"? What did you think?
So I didn't feel like I was myself, and I wanted to get back to something. So I was talking about the running, and I love to run, but it's really hard to run when you have all that extra weight. Meanwhile, on the other side, my mom, who's always struggled with weight, she had started using Ozempic a couple years prior, and it was working really well for her. She really didn't have any side effects, and it's been like a magic elixir for her. And I thought, well, genetically speaking, it should be okay. So let me give this a try. And so the way it works is, they give you a low dose at first just to make sure that nothing's too wonky. And then they just start ratcheting you up. And I do need to be honest, I did have symptoms. I did have mild nausea. I found, at some points, I found food a little bit repulsive. Sometimes I had a little bit of constipation and needed to take some laxatives, but it was all really, really mild. Now, there were these scenes where my husband and I sat down to dinner and he'd watch me eat like 3 bites of the food that he prepared. And I'm sure that was really heartbreaking for my chef of a husband, but he was very patient with me. But on the other hand, I was really literally seeing these pounds drop off of my body, and it was really nice. It was a really incredible thing. But the thing that I would say is that the key really was to combine that effort with really, really focused weight training. I happened to be in Hawaii at the time when I was really ratcheting things up. And I had a personal trainer in Hawaii that I was going to 3 times a week. He was pushing me. I was really, and I was drinking those Fairlife protein drinks at every, I was really, really focused on getting my protein, doing my weight training, as well as taking the GLP-1. And so I feel like there's a lot of evidence out there and stories out there of people who take GLP-1 and then they lose a bunch of weight, but in fact, they're really losing mostly muscle. And then when they stop taking all the fat comes back, but none of the muscle. So it's really bad. So you hear those kinds of stories. And I feel like I was able to avoid that downside that you hear of GLP-1.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Both your purposeful approach and also your results is super inspiring. So well done, you.
Oh, thank you. So at this point, I really hit my old self. My pre-big job kind of weight. And of course, I don't know what sort of muscle mass I had at the time, but I'm now, I'm kind of gaining a little. I did lose a little bit of muscle during the beginning of GLP-1. Now I'm adding some back, and I've ratcheted way down to a maintenance dose. I do have more of an appetite now, and kind of some cravings. During the peak, I wasn't eating dessert at all. I had no interest in dessert or really even wine or anything. We went to Italy in June, and I really wanted to make sure that I enjoyed the food and the wine. So I ratcheted way down heading into Italy, and that worked out fine. What I find is it's just much easier to stop. So you still want the food, but it's easier to not eat all the food or, to continue going, which was always my downfall. And the greatest thing for me that I found with GLP-1 actually was that I didn't feel the need to eat when it was inconvenient. So there's a lot of time, time in the day when you're just busy and you don't really want to eat. There's no benefit to you at all whatsoever. And so then you really don't have to, which removes a lot of the intake of your day, right?
But you didn't feel like you were flagging an energy or getting a headache because yeah. See, that's, I think, the thing that would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so the one other thing that I wanted to say about it too is that I'd been seeing in the news that they were going to put a stop to the off-brand GLP-1 stuff. But evidently they're going to be able to continue because they're including other supplements in their solutions. So for example, mine now includes glycine, which is actually meant to improve lean muscle mass. So I'll probably go off of it soon. My idea was really to do it for a year. I may do it for less than a year. I'm not sure. I'm a little nervous about coming off of it, but I guess I could always go back on if I needed to.
Did it achieve something more than just the weight loss? Like, are there other?
Oh, 100%. So that 12K that I mentioned was my goal at the beginning of the show. I ran that at the end of April, and I did it in an hour and a half. It was like 10-minute and 46-second miles, I think. There's no way on this earth I would have been able to do that if I hadn't lost the weight. To your point about weighted vests, it felt like I had removed a weighted vest and was able to do the run. And I love to run. So how about you, Meg? I know you had some like real big things that you were trying to accomplish, and I'm gonna give a little spoiler that you've accomplished some of them, like vertigo.
Yeah, I have. Although, again, just to be like really balanced about it, I think I might still have added like 5 pounds, which didn't, I also added muscle and lost body fat, etc. I do feel like I haven't found the perfect balance of achieving the weight. So I'm not ruling out going your route, but on the places that I was putting a lot of energy. Number one, I had a huge stretch goal of trying to figure out and get rid of vertigo. I've been struggling with it for over 10 years. It has caused me to make a lot of accommodation and modifications in how I live my life that even am not aware of all of them in some cases, because I just have changed so many things. And I've been to multiple doctors, etc., just not much love. And I finally just accidentally tripped over something that seemed to cure my vertigo. And I still don't even know exactly how, but I do know that it is correlated. And so this is my one last thing. It's this random thing, again, from the company Moon Juice. It's called Ting. Inside it has essentially a massive dose of B complex and B12, and then ginseng and magnesium. So I was sort of like, sounds fun. Let me try it. And I was like 3 days in, I just happened to turn my head and realized that the room didn't spin. And I was like, hold on, what's different? And so I realized that there was a direct correlation with that. And now I have, if I don't take it, it comes back. So I haven't really cured vertigo, but I found a really nice solution to it that has allowed me to take on some new things. So in addition to trying to jump more and dance, I'm also able to do the actual choreography because I can spin now, which is huge. Helps a lot for things like hiking and, oh my goodness, skiing, that you can actually shoulder check. Reduces a lot of stress on the slopes. So these are all like really, really big things. But my biggest thing I'm really proud of is that the thing I focus the most on in the weight training has been with my tonal. And tonal is beautiful in that it keeps all the records for you. And it just told me last week that I have doubled my strength since the beginning of starting tonal. And I started out and it said, hey, you're better than 42% of all female tonal users at the beginning. Well, if you guys are at all good at math, better than 42% means you're worse than everybody. And just recently now I am better than 76% of all of the people. So I'm actually on the part of the slope that looks like people that are fit. And that I imagine that tonal users probably skew a little younger than me and maybe even a little more fit than I perceive myself. So that to me has been like a huge goal I still can't do a push-up. I can do them off a bench, but not off the floor yet. So lots of room to improve. But I've also managed to really keep track of my ongoing goals. And like I said, shifting my own mindset to kind of where fitness fits into my overall lifestyle and how I perceive myself on that fitness journey has really, really changed. So I think that has been well worth the journey, and I'm so grateful to have had the time to investigate and experiment like this. So, and having friends to do it with is super meaningful. So I think having our shared group of people cheering each other on and supporting each other and brainstorming problems has been something that I think we need to really celebrate more often, because it makes all the difference.
All right, we're going to do a special leadership corner today. We're going to take a question from our old selves, our old asses, so to speak. So I thought we could share advice for our prior selves. What do we wish we knew or did when we were operators, when we had those big jobs, when we were working like crazy, traveling like crazy, and had little time dedicated to health? Or, God forbid, our future selves who find themselves in a similar situation. What is our advice to them?
Yeah, it's easy to think of ideas, but it's hard to necessarily completely empathize for how hard it is to put these into motion.
Right. Yeah.
So
time and space is key. So I'll probably be a bit contradictory here, but so the first thing is that you really do need to find the fun in exercise, and for it not to be a chore. That is key, but then that can get you into some trouble, because if you don't have fun, then you won't do it. But the other thing is to, like, in that fun lens, is to keep in mind this concept of bone health, right? So finding ways to increase your bone density in your everyday activities and to make it a little fun, right? Like that, so that is what I would, I wish I had known that it wasn't just about making time to go for a run, that it was making time, or, making sure that I was carrying heavy things, or I was, doing squats, or, jumping up and down sometimes, or, just like incorporating different odd body movements and so on, and being active in that way. Interestingly, like the dance that you have always done is a great one, right? Like, it's joyful, you're moving your body in all sorts of different ways. But like now, as you said, Meg, you're kind of like incorporating your knowledge about like the bone density part. So it wasn't, maybe it was used to be fun and you're like, oh, I'm active, but now you're like more purposeful and intentional about your movement, to not just have fun, but to also, kind of give your body the medicine that it needs. There is a nice hack that I like, which is a 7-minute workout that like the New York Times put out many, many years ago. And you do like 8 or 10 exercises for 30 seconds each. And so it's something that you can do in a hotel room. It really does take 7 minutes. So it's totally possible to just do. It's not super fun. It's kind of fun if you do it with other people, but it's kind of boring on your own, but it is short. And so I kind of wish in retrospect that I was better about doing that versus trying to get a run in, right? Like the more you do like these squats and lunges and stuff, the better. And then of course, like our must-haves, the creatine, the perfect amino, and the D3. Like, I wish I had those 2, 3, 7 years ago. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I would add a couple things, because I think it falls into the know yourself and then hack your own habits the best way possible to achieve your goals. And so what I mean by that is thinking about habit stacking. So if, where you already are good about something, if there's a way you can add either a little bit more to it or something that elevates the value you get out of it. So there are things like, to your point, Amy, maybe add squats when you take a break or go to the bathroom or whatever, just something that you can habit stack that doesn't take a lot of time, but that helps you remind yourself what you are doing so that it's not such a heavy lift when you have more time to do something harder. I think we tend to get so stressed that we can't do the big thing or we can't get to the exercise class or we can't get to the gym or whatever, that then we're like, well, it's all a loss. I'm traveling. It's all a loss.
Well, I love the idea of habit stacking on going to the bathroom because I do that every 30 minutes. So
Exactly. And then the only other thing I would say is anybody that is a woman in perimenopause, and I would argue you're probably there sooner than you think in your early 40s, start asking yourself and your doctor about when is the right time to think about hormone replacement or any other kinds of changes that you can do, because the fluctuations of your hormones really make everything else harder. They make it hard, emotionally harder, physically harder. There's a lot of things long term they make harder, but in your day to day they make things harder. So if you're not sleeping well, it's going to be harder to eat right and exercise. If you're suffering from brain fog, it's going to be hard to get yourself out of that and not be frustrated. And so thinking about it as a holistic well-being thing really matters. And there's a lot more research and conversation about these topics. So if you're not sure, start at least paying attention to what some of those symptoms might be for you so that you recognize them earlier. I really wish I had realized that some of the things I was experiencing in my late 30s, early 40s were sort of early indicators of problems that I probably could have solved much better had I started hormone replacement sooner.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this very special episode on health. It was a real joy to share. What did you think, Meg? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was totally fun. I'm not sure if people are going to find us overwhelming and annoying, but that is an ongoing concern of mine in general. So hopefully the right people will find this audience helpful and the others will move on to other episodes. So that's
Wonderful.
My goal.
Well, do send your questions for Leadership Corner. And please do share and subscribe and share it with people that you think might like this and might get a kick out of it.
Yeah, especially people in big jobs. Again, it's really the bigger the job, the more, or the bigger the things going on in your life, the more thinking about how you can help yourself holistically really, really matters. So, again, I think this is a big part of the commitment that you make to yourself for your long-term goals as well as for your future self. So let's invent the future together, everyone. I believe in us.
Make every day count.